Welcome back to Incremental, the continuous improvement podcast. This is episode 135. I'm Uriel Eisen of Austere Manufacturing and Arda Cards.
And I'm Devin Bedoni of Like and Precision. And our quote, which we teased at one point, but here it is officially. Excuse me. All we are doing is looking at the timeline from the moment a customer gives us an order to the point we collect the cash, and we are reducing that timeline in the value stream by removing non-value added wastes. Taiichi Ohno. Lean boiled down to its core.
What a guy. I just picked up SMED again and was kind of just reading through it here and there. His writing is impressively...
Wait, SMED?
Yeah.
That's not Ohno. That's Shigeo.
My bad.
Shigeo also.
How embarrassing. Yeah, well, Shigeo also. Yeah, it's that's the thing.
That's the thing.
It's not easier knowing that it's simple, I will say. But it is good to, I think you can start getting more and more tools and more lenses to look at it through, and sometimes maybe get lost in applying those. Yeah. Even though they're really helpful for finding different types of waste. But then the overarching goal needs to be remain in sight, I guess. So.
It's funny because I think like in classic business sort of circles or manufacturing, people sort of assume that you apply lean to high production, high volume environments. And this is like, well, yeah, obviously. And I've always been like, whoa, it seems like prototype shops and like quick turn shops, and they actually are like super lean, just not in the classic ways.
Interesting.
They don't look lean in the classic ways, but they are, because
they can't have whip.
They fundamentally have to be shortening this timeline. And so it's interesting to just kind of switch that lens around a little bit.
Now, are they? Yeah. What are they? Because they are not engaged in continuous improvement. Well, that's not true across the board. But,
that's not true, yeah.
I mean, I worked as a prototyping shop for a bunch of years, and I was not engaged in continuous improvement. I think I was in a small way. I was sort of always interested in efficiency, but I think that wasn't a big part of my day. Every job was kind of, very much focused on reducing that time, because people came to me specifically for quick turn prototyping. But there is a distinction I think I would make.
Sure.
Not to say they're not. I think what's interesting about that is they cannot get started preemptively. So like that is a forcing function that I think a lot of people who engage in regular production can get pretty lazy on, including me. Now, another aspect I think that is easy as someone who does run regular production, and when I say regular production, I just mean like regularly producing the same thing, not that. The other is irregular. Is that it's very easy. Bless you. Sorry. It's very easy to kind of treat, like once you get the sale, kind of treat the rest as like inevitable and unimportant. It's like, it ships today or it ships tomorrow. Like we already got the money, right? And it can. I've noticed that it can become easy to focus on the essentially pushing, right? Essentially going upstream and being like, okay, well, what are we going to need next? Instead of like, stop starting and start finishing. Like what else needs to happen to actually get that out the door? And until that's done, let's not start more. Right. And it's very easy to go like, well, once that ships, then we're going to need more parts to paint. And if I don't start that now, then when we do need to paint, it's not going to be ready. So let me start that now, even though we still have stuff to ship. I don't know.
Interesting.
Good quote.
Yeah. Good one.
Some improvements?
Go out and do it.
Great quote. Now apply it.
Get your butt in gear. Let's see. Oh, I guess this is from last week. I don't know if this actually worked though. Okay. We updated the podcast template page to make the quotes cell wrap text.
Oh, and did it not take?
I don't know if it took. Yeah. So it was a failed improvement.
Wait, it looks like it did, didn't it? Yeah, this one's wrapped.
Oh, maybe it did. Maybe I was looking at an old one. Okay, well, that was an improvement. I got sick of doing it every single time we copy and pasted a quote in, or just not being able to read it until you like expanded the cell.
Right. That's a good one. Definitely shortens the time from collecting the money to the time we ship parts. So
super critical.
Yeah.
That's a operation focused improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess my pause there is kind of considering that quote. I'm now listening, as I mentioned, beyond the goal. So I'm now firmly back in TOC land. And he describes it as TOC provides the focusing layer on lean.
Yeah.
That Six Sigma or, whatever, TQM and whatever set of letters you want to stick together that amount to the same thing. Yeah, just guiding those efforts.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know how to think about this, but I guess that's the theory episode.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so some improvements we made. Kyle built out an Arda install cart. So we were kind of realizing that we're preaching kind of efficiency, et cetera. And then we were showing up for these installs and sort of walking back and forth quite a bit because you're landing in a new shop. You don't really know where stuff is. We're coming in without a real setup. And so it just seemed a little bit, I don't know if unprofessional exactly, but somewhere in there,
you can say it. It's okay.
Area. Let's actually practice what we preach. And so it has all of the stuff we need on the cart. And then we have a 2-bin system with Arda cards in each supply that we'll see how this plays out. They're a different color so that when we're doing an install, they don't get intermingled with the Kanbans of that facility, ideally.
Yeah.
But it would be the ability to kind of have a go bag with all the supplies we need for an install. And then as we deplete them on site, we're putting those in a particular area so that when we get back, we can replenish it without just doing a full manual count.
So is this a cart that you purchase for the install and leave there?
So this is definitely running an experiment. This is a cart that folds up. And so the thought is to just fly in with all this stuff.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah. And whatever it costs, $50 or $35 or depending on your rewards program, check bag fee, I think pales in comparison to walking up back and forth in the shop a lot.
Yeah. You're going to get on your Pelican case game?
Potentially. I suspect that we might have to.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
It was fun. Easy win.
You feel techie.
Exactly.
Yeah. We bought an ultrasonic cleaner for cleaning collets and other tool holding accessories.
Mm-hmm.
We have been fairly egregiously lax in this category for a while. So it's time to step up our game.
And did you do that in response to an issue or just something that was on your radar?
Just on the radar. Yeah.
Did you buy a fancy one or a Chinesium?
Chinesium.
Excellent.
Yes.
From Poppy Bezos.
Poppy Bezos. Uncle Bezos.
It's a support local business, right?
Yeah. Got to keep our Seattle homies able to buy $12 lattes.
Exactly. Okay, we updated the 1-inch cam buckle gripper finger card. So the card that calls for more gripper fingers to be 3D printed. As part of that, I eliminated we used to have 2 screws that held it into the gripper.
Yeah.
We were always only loading it in one direction, so we eliminated a screw straight out of SMED. Straight up Shigeo move. And then added an image to the Arda card, so it's just very easy to tell what you're meant to be printing. And then that led to our next improvement, which was I was putting all the 3D printing files in Arta just in the notes section. And so then you can click them and download them and print them. And we saw a couple other customers who were doing similar stuff. And so we actually added a new column in Arta for files.
Oh, yeah.
So
great. That's one of the coolest things about having a no-code solution like Coda or Airtable is like those kinds of changes are so low friction, and you don't have to go back and like redo all your old stuff or like have compatibility issues.
100%.
You just like, turns out we need a photo here. I'm going to add a field called photo.
Right. And it works.
It's done.
Yeah, it is pretty awesome. We've definitely gotten, there's reasons we need to move off of Coda, but there's also reasons to stay on it, and developing new features to respond to customer requests is high on the list. We're talking to our technical advisor who may come on for a more significant role. And he was basically describing like, I think the way we're going to do it is pull big chunks of the database off of the back.
Yeah.
And so it would be an API call. So it would lighten up a lot of the compute that Coda needs to do.
Yeah.
But still give us that really flexible front end until we're kind of like really crystallized on the structure. And so
cool.
Hopefully best of both worlds, but we'll see.
This is two that I'm going to roll into one. We have been having tool holder shortage issues, which we actually didn't talk about it in the theory section, but specifically, general tool holder shortage issues from presetting jobs. Those tend to now you have a job set up in each machine plus a job prepped for each machine. That starts to be a lot of tool holders. And then our M300 needs longer reach holders. So for the machinist nerds, when the spindle nose to A-axis center line, I think is 110 minimum. That's as low as it can go, 110 millimeters.
Yeah.
So if you have a part at rotated to A0 and you're trying to reach to or through the center, it's a bit of a reach, especially with tiny tools. And we had a rush job last week that had two small taps, 3 different very small reamed holes. It ended up being a suite of small drills and taps and reamers. And I was like, we just literally cannot make this part today. It's impossible. So I ordered a bunch of long reach ER16 holders.
Okay.
And then I also bit the bullet and ordered power grip for milling in the M300. Per Dylan from Proteum / with Intolerance's advice, I got their 120 millimeter holder option.
Okay.
And so we're going to, jump on that bandwagon.
Advice or recommendation or just
recommendation. Yeah.
He's just like, this is worth the money kind of.
Well, everybody has, it's the new hotness. Everyone's getting it, but also, I've just been hearing for a long time that it's the way to go for milling. I'm going to stick with ER for drilling and tapping. Because they're so expensive. It seems like a lot of money to spend on drills and taps.
Gotcha.
But for all milling in that machine for small tools. We're starting with small tools, long reach requirement stuff.
Gotcha.
And we'll go from there.
Because run out is more of an issue at that? Or why start there?
Because that's where we have sort of a hole.
Gotcha.
Right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. We released a new product.
Which product?
Which was the retrofittable cam buckle. It has a press fit pin on the back, so you can install it on existing gear. And I made a new setup sheet for it, or tray. We use sheet trays. And has a cutout for the vice jaws, for the gripper fingers, and then just has all the info you need to kind of set it up and run it. An example piece of stock, an example part.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
How do you correlate that setup physical sheet to a setup, either data, like a web page, or where do you get the information associated with that that's not physically, can't be or is not physically on the sheet?
Yeah, so right now, this is something we've been working on in Arda, is to add an SOP segment. So we have SOPs in Arda, and so you can print out a card like similar to the Kanban.
Yeah.
Print out a card with a QR code. So that's where that stuff will live. Right now, we don't have much information beyond what's just on that sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd love to pick your brain about.
So you have to be trained to it effectively.
What do you mean? Like how to set it up, kind of? Yeah. There's no like video right now or detailed descriptions of like, now, put the vice jaws on or whatever it is.
Right. And like G-code.
Oh, that's all written out.
Yeah, just on a piece of paper, laminated paper or something.
I normally just put it on labels on the front of the tray. So it says the program number on the front of the tray and it has the part name.
Okay.
We color code it all. And then on the sheet are just all the parts you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good.
It's been amazing. But not to say there isn't always room for some Kaizen on our Kaizen foam.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
Nice. So as we've been adding this new machine, there's been a lot of new accessory stuff that's kind of gone along with it, like different soft jaws, in this case for the lathe chuck that goes in that machine.
Okay.
And they were just sort of planted on top of our tooling cabinet and been there for some months now. So I made a spot for them to live. We had them Kanban, but we just didn't have a place for them yet. So they were just kind of living wherever they could be.
Oh, this is a cool one. So it's not fully live, but it is getting there. We built an Amazon tool that pulls in data, so you can just copy and paste a link into Arda, and it'll pull in the title, the image, price, all sorts of, so it can populate your card just a little easier.
Oh, cool.
And by we, I mean Kyle. And I clicked the button and said, wow, this is cool. Yeah. But yeah, that was a nice improvement.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I think, what was it? Will was showing us the other day, and I think, like he maybe downloads a screenshot so that it's not having to pull in like the image URL or something like that. I forget exactly what it was.
Okay. I feel like I talked to him about this. Yeah, instead of just right clicking.
Yeah.
I forget why he said he did that.
I think it was so that like it couldn't go stale. So the link couldn't go stale.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one really cool thing, it looks like in the API, it looks like we could just link you to a fully built cart in Amazon based on your Arda cart, instead of just opening the links and being like, okay, have at it. And, add the quantity you want. It looks like we might be able to do that, which I would be excited about.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
So it would like just pre-populate a full cart.
Yeah, and you just go check out. And
yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yep.
Nice.
It's not an improvement yet, though.
I like this. This one was actually very helpful. So I made a G-code naming convention file.
Excellent.
Real exciting for everyone else.
Yeah.
And I went through and updated our CAM templates to match.
Okay.
So, because our CAM templates have pre-populated operations, basically. I don't have all the toolpaths
I see what you're
set
saying.
in them, but they are associated with a certain origin, a certain set of jaws, usually the part already, and they're like pre-named to some extent. And like every single time I'm like, oh, should this be a 2000 or a 2002? And what about, and then sometimes you end up with conflicts. So I just like actually did one for mill, one for lathe, so that you don't have any overwrite potential if you have mill and lathe programs in the same part. And then made
like op1, op2 stuff.
Yeah, if you had like a op1 on the lathe and then a op 2 on the mill. You don't want them to both be number 2000 and be able to confuse them when you're downloading them out of Airtable.
Okay.
And then, just like designated a range of numbers for rework files, because that's often where things start to go really wacky, is if you're on some part that ends up needing some rework and you start throwing weird numbers into the mix.
Yes, I've done that.
Yeah. So anyway, very exciting. And again, as there's multiple people programming now, just trying to
That's awesome.
make that. I also like, for whatever reason, it makes 0 sense. When we first got our first brother machine, the guy who set it up, set up a test program as number 2000. And so we've stuck with the 2000s ever since.
Okay.
But I've always done op 1 is 2000, op 2 is 2001, or maybe the Softjaw is 2001. They don't correlate at all. So I finally made it correlate where op 1 is 2001.
Right.
Op 2 is 2002.
I see what you're saying. Instead of op 1 being 0.
Yeah.
That makes, wow.
Yeah. It's the little things. It's the little
That's cool.
things.
Yeah.
Softjaw files are op 1. Softjaw is 2011.
Okay, that is high on my list, which I know is outside of the purview of this episode, but we have issues with our Softjaws, and we reinvent the wheel every time we need new Softjaws.
Oh.
And it is ridiculous because that is a production part.
Yeah.
We are in the business of making Softjaws.
What kind of issues?
I don't have a standard. So we have allocated, this is part of the issue. We've allocated 10 programs per component we make on the control. So they're always on there.
Okay.
So 3/4 inch cam buckle bodies are, I don't remember exactly, but let's say it's 620 to 629.
Okay.
So 9, I guess.
Yeah.
And one of those should be the Softjaw file, right?
Yeah.
So that you can always just be like, these are worn out. Let's make new ones.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Oh,
so then when Sam's like, hey,
place.
we're getting a defect here. And I'm like, I think we need to make new Softjaws. It is unplanned downtime. We don't have a backup set sitting on that foam, slide out thing, which we should.
Yeah.
And then when we do, I'm looking around in Fusion in my very organized file structure in Fusion.
Oh, it's not on the machine. It's not just that it's not a standard
exactly.
number. It's just not on the machine at all.
Yeah. I save it to 2000. And the reason I use 2000 is because you told me you used 2000 when I bought my machine. It's all right, I will use 2000 religiously. Yeah. Anyway.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, yeah, it's a daunting machine to get into. Okay. We came across, we have a Torx bit for assembling our belts. It became clear that we only had one in our shop. So we made...
Is this the one that we talked about a while ago about if you should order 1 or 10?
No, this is a different one.
Cool.
Yeah. And so we added an ARTA card for this Torx bit. It's just crazy. Every single item we add. Oh, we also added one for our rework station that we use for melting threads.
Oh, yeah.
And so that went out. And then unplanned downtime, we were both trying to get this machine up and running so we could run production. And so now it has a Kanban, which is like a piece of equipment. It costs $125. It is a tool, which I think so far in my head has been outside of the purview of ARTA. So anyway, we made a card for both of those things this week.
Interesting. Cool. I guess we made a bunch of cards too, but I haven't thought of those as
improvements.
Real improvements. But
they're pretend improvements.
They do help.
Keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. I had our little programming board, and we've broken it up into Will's going to program, I'm going to program. These are the different columns. And then we had, and this is a concept we've worked with already. We had 2 columns for program ready, and I just turned one of those into a hold column, which is this is ready, but don't move it along in line yet. And we've had a pause and queue column in a bunch of our different boards.
Okay.
Most of them we found are not very useful, but this one so far is.
Why would you So that you're not pushing to the next station?
So that we're not like triggering work in the programming area unnecessarily.
Oh, I see. So we have this job, but we just don't need to program it yet. So it lives in that queue.
Yeah, or like where we've often used this is like because we have not implemented our separation of shop floor and
church and state
programming, and state. Would be like, okay, we know that that's going to come back. It's going to go into this front slot. This other one is done, so you don't need to know. The programmer knows that there's 2 programs ready. Like they don't have to jump into high gear to refill that hole. I don't know.
Interesting.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. Just messing with it.
Very cool. We released another new product, which was a girth hitch strap option. Kind of a cool product, and didn't have a sewing fixture for it. So I made a sewing fixture. In the process of making that sewing fixture, an issue we've had with 3D printed fixtures of that type, we use a 1/8 inch pin to make a hinge.
Yeah.
And that's needed reaming after 3D printing. And so this one, I just make a diamond shaped hole.
Oh.
Instead of a perfectly round hole.
Yeah.
And if the diamond is oriented vertically, anyway, it prints and works right off the printer.
Nice. Cool.
A quality of life thing.
This was kind of a big one, but I figured out, and then, which took some help, and then documented the process for calibrating the lathe tool setter on our M300. It was kind of a whole deal.
Wow.
But now I actually have a fully vetted, documented process for how to go through it.
That's super cool.
Fully vetted in that I did it.
And it worked.
And it worked. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually like sent it back to Yamazet and be like,
here's a new one for you.
Maybe you should share this.
That's cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's what I got.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have to do that frequently?
Hopefully not, but I'd like it to be an option to double check it frequently.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I feel like sometimes you spend like 5 hours digging into some of these things, and then once it's solved, it's like slips totally off your plate. And yeah, that's cool. Nice. Yeah. Well, that about does it for this week. You can find me at austere_manufacturing on Instagram and austeremfg.com. You can find Arda at www.arda.cards and arda.cards on Instagram, and the podcast at Incremental CI on Instagram. And we have a Patreon. Check it out.
Indeed.
Patronize us.
And you can find me at likenprecision.com on the internet, lichen_MFG. And we will talk to you soon.